Generally speaking, if somebody wanted to film a time lapse in 2022, they probably are using their smartphone to do it. A company called Atli reached out to us and wanted us to rethink how we handle time lapses. In one of their marketing videos, Atli makes the argument that using a phone as a time lapse camera reduces productivity that can be done on that device. Their solution is to have a dedicated camera that specifically does time lapses and does it well. That brings us to the Atli Eon time-lapse camera, which is surprisingly a very productive little guy. I'm Alex from the Sypnotix. Thank you to Atli for sending us this to review, and this is our full review of the Eon time-lapse camera.
What do you get when you add more flavor and color to the palette of life? I say ya, no more fighting. Everyone's hyping. Give it to the mix 'cause they all fighting. When you're alive, you never really ever die. No laws, no kings, no need to testify.
So what exactly is the Eon camera and what can it do? Size slightly larger and thicker than a GoPro, the Eon has a single-lens 1080p sensor. The compact body houses a rechargeable battery that can be juiced up through a USB-C port on the right side of the body. You can also keep it plugged in for those week-long time lapses. If you're using this camera on the battery alone, expect about 10 to 14 hours off a single charge. That's what it seems like I've been getting over the last month. There's power saving mode available for longer endurance jobs as well. What sets the Eon apart from other similarly bodied cameras is that Atli has thrown in a lens that can be manually focused. When filming at a 7cm macro view, having that ability to change focus with your actual hand movement is an underrated benefit in a world populated by action cameras with set views. While action cameras like GoPros can also take time lapses as well as regular videos, there are some scenarios that I have been finding that this manual focus option to triumph over having that extra video capabilities that competitors have. Don't get me wrong though, the Eon can still take single photos and record regular video formats, but that isn't the specialty that the folks at Atli designed the Eon to be masterful with. Another seemingly added benefit is the app implementation. Actually, it's a bit of a mixed bag if I'm being honest. Like many other small cameras without a viewfinder or display, the Eon relies on a smartphone companion app to frame the shot. The Atli app isn't the most user-friendly interface, but there are enough added functions that make it useful to the user experience. However, connecting the camera to the app can be a little frustrating and annoying the first few times before you get a feel for how the kinks work. First, you have to power the camera on and then open the app. The pairing process relies on the phone switching its Wi-Fi connection to that of the signal coming out of the Eon. I found the pairing to be reliable and strong once connected, but the main drawback is that it is a bit too slow of a process for my liking. The Eon frequently takes more than a minute to be found on my app. Through repetition, I have found that canceling and restarting the pairing process, the Eon will appear much faster. Normally, this wouldn't be too big of an issue to wait a bit longer for the device to pair, but when all of your camera's core functionality lies within the use of the application, the quickness in which the camera pairs up with the app should be paramount. Once you do get things set up, things are pretty straightforward. A live view of what the camera sees is available for the user to adjust various things like ISO and shutter speed. You can also swap between a full auto mode or take manual control. The battery life and connection strength are located on the top left corner. Pressing the shutter button will bring up a menu that will ask how long the camera should record, as well as the interval in which the camera takes a shot. Different combinations of these things will drastically change the type of time lapse that you produce. I've played around with a few different scenarios and use cases during my testing time with the Eon. I left it sitting next to my lettuce grow farm stand for a week to document the plant growth of 7 days. I had the camera shoot once every 30 minutes for that 7-day period. In that scenario, I had to keep the camera plugged into a wall outlet. I then plopped it onto my dashboard of my Tesla Model 3 and took it for a drive in LA traffic. The duration was 30 minutes at I think an interval of every 5 seconds, and the results were quite enjoyable to view. Atli provides a mini tripod with the Eon that is rather sturdy and versatile. For an add-on, I was pretty surprised at how useful it actually was. Of course, you can also use the Eon with any tripod of your choosing, as it has a standard tripod thread size. There's also a rubber case you can enclose the camera into with flaps that open for a USB-C slot and a 2.5mm jack used for connecting with accessories. I would have liked a flap to open for the micro SD card slot as well, so I don't need to constantly remove the silicone case to get to the card, but I do understand why sealing that off would be a safer solution. I'm still mentioning this now because both of these accessories are actually beneficial to the use cases of the Eon. When I set the camera down on grass or whatever surface I want to catch a time lapse on, I'm not too worried about the camera falling or getting dirty because of these things. Once again, for add-ons, they're surprisingly well made. Back to the time-lapse scenarios, I took a time-lapse of me filming a video review. I also set the camera down in my room to get a glimpse of a day in the life of my dogs as their dad works from home. And this is all stuff that may seem trivial, but when you view it after it's completed, there's a fascinating dynamic behind it that is addicting. I've never really embraced the time-lapse format outside of work-related use cases, mostly for wedding videos, but something about having a dedicated time-lapse camera makes me want to use it for so many different potential scenarios. I didn't get a chance to take this into the wilderness and plop it down for days on end, but I do want to eventually attempt that piece as well. The Atli Eon has a photo sequencing format that they call time slice, where it will combine parts of images throughout multiple points of recording to blend into an amazing post-production picture of it all. This would be absolutely breathtaking to attempt at a high-rise building like a hotel in New York. I really wish I had this camera when I was there a couple months ago, but you can be sure I will bring this along with me on future trips. While you can technically leave your Eon somewhere and let it do its thing, I do find it a bit risky. I have anxiety worrying that a random person will just walk by a bridge and take home my camera if I left it there to get some traffic shots. If you do find a great spot to do this though, and it's safe, you're able to remotely view the live view of the camera through the app. The camera is also open for OTA updates from the company. There is something to be said for just how simple it is to get a time-lapse going with the Eon. You just drop the camera down, connect the app, toggle 2 settings, and come back however long you decide to film for. My phone is then free for the entire duration of the time-lapse for me to do whatever I want. I also do find the Eon to be rather cute in appearance. It's a neatly shaped rectangular shape with an oversized lens that has a satisfyingly smooth focus motion. I would have liked to see a different finish on the plastic housing, as the glossy black really gets dirty with dust and greasy fingerprints. I do keep the camera in the silicone case most of the time, so that at least mitigates it a bit. However, the camera does feel a little cheap as it doesn't have much weight behind the plastic body. When outside or in the vicinity of sunlight, the Eon in its glossy black body does retain heat. It's a product that is nearing $200, that $200 threshold that some of the other action cameras occupy that do feel better built overall in direct comparison. Ultimately, there is a niche market for time-lapse cameras that are convenient to get running, all the while still retaining its ultra portability. While the Atli Eon accomplishes those things, there are inconveniences holding it back from being a default consensus purchase. The fact that you absolutely have to connect the device every time to the app in order to operate the camera at all brings me back to the early GoPro days. Swapping Wi-Fi networks to connect the camera is just not a great way to go about this. Sadly, that's just how most of the products like this currently work, and until there is a next wave breakthrough in mainstream tech to make this a quicker and more seamless connectivity, products like the Eon will always suffer in the user experience department. Still, I do think the Eon contributes enough in visual quality as well as operational ease to deserve a consideration if time-lapsing is a major part of your life and your routine. Once again, I'm Alex from the Sypnotix. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Let me know what you think of a time-lapse camera like the Eon. I would love for you guys to comment, like this video, and subscribe to our channel, Sypnotix. It would help our channel a lot. If you enjoy great tech content, we constantly push out reviews, and I will see you guys on the next one.
So the other day, I was on a Zoom call at work, and I just dropped everything I was saying, and I told them, subscribe.